This is a mocha. My friend Mika made it for me, so I guess you could call it a Mika mocha. Hey Mika, could I have another one with whipped cream? I'm the Messianic Torah dude, and this week's Torah portion is Beshalach. Beshalach, when he let go. This week's Torah portion is in part the story of the journey of faith that the people of Israel are taking. And we see the parts where they succeed in this journey and the parts where they fall short in this journey. But the important thing to remember about any journey is it's not about the individual steps, but it's about the progress that we make. Now, faith is different than belief. Belief becomes faith when we act upon it, because faith is belief in action. I can believe that a bungee cord will hold my weight, but I don't actually have any faith until I jump off of the bridge. And it's important to make this distinction, because we can say we believe in something, but there's a difference between believing in something and actually acting on that belief. Faith is also like a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs to be trained.
What's up? This is Brother Buck from the Church of the Holy and the Swoley. Today, we've blasted our biceps, torn up our triceps, punished our pecs, and we're going to move on to an exercise of faith.
And as we follow the Israelites on this journey of faith, what we'll see is how they train their faith muscles. So you would think that after seeing all of the 10 plagues, all of the amazing things that the Lord had done, they would be pretty set in the faith department. But they still needed to have those muscles stretched, those muscles grown. So this week's Torah portion begins in Exodus chapter 13, verse 17 through 18, where it says, "When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, 'Lest the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt.' But God led the people around by the way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea. And the people of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt equipped for battle." So here we see how the Lord is taking a conscientious step towards not pushing the Israelites too far. In the same way, when you start a workout routine, you don't walk up to the bar and pile all of the weights on and try and lift that. The Lord is easing them into stronger faith, working them out slowly and building things up. And we compare the Lord to a shepherd a lot, and here we see kind of an example, because a shepherd doesn't lead a flock somewhere where they can't go, either where they can't go because they are not fit enough to travel over that land, or because the land is not beneficial to them. And here we see that the Lord is not pushing the Israelites too hard. But just like any muscle, it has to be exercised. It has to be stretched so that it can grow. And so that brings us to Exodus chapter 14, verses 10 through 14. "When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them. And they feared greatly, and the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, 'Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have we done? What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than die in the wilderness.' And Moses said to the people, 'Fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you will only have to be silent.'" Faith and fear are two opposing forces in our lives, constantly struggling for supremacy. Fear is like the Israelites, saying, "There's no hope, we're doomed. Why did I even do this in the first place?" And faith is what tells us, "Be still and trust that the Lord will deliver you." And of course, the Lord did deliver the Israelites. They were able to cross through the Red Sea on dry land. And then when the Egyptians chased after them, the wheels of their chariots fell off, and they got stuck in the mud. And while they were all stuck in the mud, the waters closed in on them. And the Egyptians drowned, but the Israelites passed through on dry land. They were able to achieve this victory through no merit or through no work of their own, just by trusting in the Lord. And then the people spontaneously broke out into song. And that song is found in Exodus chapter 15. But verses 1 and 2 say, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him. My Father's God, and I will exalt him. One of the things this teaches us about how faith is developed and how faith is grown is we have to acknowledge the times when our faith is proved right. The times when we trust in the Lord and the Lord comes through. And we need to constantly be reminding ourselves of this.
That's right. When you are doing an exercise of faith, you got to chant your #gains.
Out of this passage in Exodus chapter 15, we get what is called the Mi Chamocha, which means who is like our God. It says, who is like you, O Lord among the gods? Who is like you? You are awesome in praise, doing wondrous works. And this passage is recited at synagogues throughout the world to remind us of how the Lord has come through in the past. And because we know the Lord doesn't change, we know that if he has come through in the past, he will come through in the future. And it's important to always remind ourselves of these things. Now you would think after this, their training was over. But they still had more training to go through. In Exodus chapter 16, verses 1 through 4, it says, They set out from Elim, and all the congregation of the people of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had departed from the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the people of Israel said to them, Would that we had died by the hands of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by meat pots and ate bread to the full. You have brought us into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then the Lord said to Moses, Behold, I am about to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not. Now the interesting thing about this is this was daily bread. This was not a one-time provision of all the bread that they would need for the journey. This was not filling up their storehouses. This was a continual provision.
And remember, exercise your faith muscles every day until they're so shredded that the mountains move before you even tell them to.
Because as we work on developing our faith, and as we work on growing our faith, we must trust in the Lord daily. It is a daily exercise, just like everything else. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7 says, Cast all your burdens on the Lord, for he cares for you. This means all your burdens. The big ones, the little ones, the one-time ones, the daily ones, all of them, across the board. And the reason we do that is because we know that just as the Lord can come through in the big things, the Lord can come through in the small things. Just as the Lord can come through on one occasion, the Lord can come through daily. So what are some ways that the Lord has come through for you that have helped to build your faith? Let me know in the comments. And if I gave you a laugh, give me a like. And if you learned something, give me a share. I'm the Messianic Torah dude. Shalom, and stay in the Word.